Are you all right to keep an eye on it, Sam, just in case anyone joins us a couple of minutes late?
Yeah, I will do.
Right then, I think we'll make a start. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening for the third in our series of webinars in the Diversifying into Horticulture series. I know some of you have joined us before for these, and we have some Tyfu Cymru training regulars here tonight too, which is fab. We've also got some people joining us for the first time, so for their benefit, I'll just quickly say what Tyfu Cymru is in a nutshell. So we're a project hosted by Lantra, and we support all aspects of the commercial horticulture industry in Wales, and we do that by providing 100% free training and business support to growers in the commercial sector, but that's everything from small market gardens to huge growers supplying to supermarkets and ornamentals as well, and everybody in between. So if there is any support that you need, then you can get in touch with us after this, and we can talk to you about that in a bit more detail. So this series, we originally designed it to offer support to farmers who are thinking of diversifying into horticulture production, and also an opportunity for current growers considering a different business model and to explore some alternative options. However, as we've gone along, we've identified that there's a lot of other horticulture businesses who are interested in the topics that we're discussing in this series. So we've opened it up for this one, because there's a lot of interest in what Cywain have got to present on tonight. So I'm going to start off with some housekeeping notes. So we've got speaking tonight. Yep, so we've got Nerys and Jane from Cywain who are going to do a presentation after this, and then we'll finish with Debbie from Mostyn Kitchen Garden, who's going to talk about her business, the support she's had from Cywain, and where her business is heading and any changes that she's made. Which would be brilliant. So housekeeping, all attendees, we're asking if you can mute yourselves during the presentations. During the presentations, if you can use the chat box to submit questions, that would be brilliant, unless the speakers are asking for questions at that time. And then there will be a few minutes at the end of each presentation for you to ask any questions, which you can then unmute yourselves. We are recording this session for our Knowledge Hub. So if you don't want your face to appear on that, then we ask that you switch your video off. And if you have got any issues, then you can just contact us at the end, send me an email, and we can go through anything if there's any problems. And if you accidentally leave the meeting, you can rejoin using the same link that you came into this meeting to start with. So the last thing I want to mention before I hand over is the fourth session and final session in this series is on Tuesday the 20th of April at 6 p.m, and that's going to be on hiring, leasing land, contracts and insurances. So if you yourselves or you know of any horticulture businesses or startups who are looking at leasing land, or any growers wanting to, or landowners wanting to lease to other people, we've got Tom from Kaitan and some people that he works with, and some landowners who are going to come and have an open discussion about all the contracts that they put in place, some of the legalities, and all the things that you have to consider before leasing land yourself or leasing land out to other people, as well as hiring growers and things like that. So that will be going up on our website this week to sign up to, and I will send everyone here a link directly to that later on this week. And again, if you would like any further support, then please get in touch with us at Tyfu. Our email address is there, and we can give you further details. So I will now hand over to Nerys and Jane, who are going to talk about the support that Cywain are able to offer.
So noswaith dda pawb, good evening everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation for Jane and I to come and talk this evening. Diolch am y gwahoddiad I Jane a fi gyda dyma I siarad heno yma. So it's going to be a double act between Jane and myself. So I'm going to talk about the kind of Cywain micro section, and then I'm going to hand over to Jane, who's going to talk about the fine food cluster and the other clusters. So I'll kick off the presentation. So who am I? So I'm Nerys Davis, and now I'm going to attempt to share my screen before I go any further. So, okay. So can everybody see that? Yeah, cool. I can see some nodding faces. That's all good. Technology is working. Brilliant. Diane. So I'm Nerys Davis, and I head up the Cywain micro team. And our main aim really in Cywain is to help micro and startup producers in Wales. It's a free service, and you know, we just want to help companies grow really. So that's our kind of core aim. We're part funded by Welsh Government, and these are some of the other service providers that we also work closely with. So some of them you might recognise. There's Business Wales, Farm Connect, Food and Drink Wales, and the Food Technology Centres, which are an amazing resource. There's 3 in Wales. There's one in Llangefni on Anglesey, one in Horeb, and then there's another one down in Cardiff, 0 to 5. So they're a brilliant resource to help kind of product development. And then, so these are some of the questions that we quite often get from producers coming to us, asking about our help. So it's a free service, and it might be, you know, how do we get in touch with the Food Technology Centre, level 2 hygiene course, how do we contact Business Wales, where we're going to sell our products, what kind of packaging do we use, what kind of insurance. So these are all aspects of the kind of service that we can help food and drink producers with. So just to give you an idea of the kind of help we can provide. So firstly, the access into Cywain, we expect the food producer, the drink producer, to be registered in Wales, to be producing a product, either yourself or outsourced, or if it's a kind of a primary product, like something you'd grow, that you're adding kind of value to it in some way. Looking for producers that are selling beyond their own outlets, so either selling online or selling in other retail shops. We expect producers to be registered with an environmental health officer with their local authority. We expect them to have a hygiene level 2 certificate to show proficiency, you know, handling food, which is a good thing to have to show to your customers and also to your suppliers and buyers as well. And that you have the relevant insurance in place once you start trading, such as sort of public liability or product liability. But we can all help you attain these as well. So what kind of support can we provide? Well, as soon as you've registered with Cywain, and it's free to register, we've got a whole host of different webinars. We seem to think of new webinars on a kind of monthly basis, and these can be with packaging, with setting up an online shop, social media, digital marketing, subscription box, accessing distributors, couriers, all different kind of subjects. And then following on from those webinars, you might want a bit more depth, so we can set up a one-to-one session with some of those mentors. Also, there's routes to market we'll help with, branding support, market intelligence, mentoring, and test trading. So I'll go into these in a bit more detail. So because of the pandemic, we've had to move really from live workshops to these webinars. So they're kind of short, sharp, focused. They're usually about an hour long, and they're very much like Zoom on a Google Meet. So they're dead easy to access, and you get loads of great information. You know, you can access them from your home, and we usually run them kind of in the morning or in the afternoon. And then, as I was saying, if you need more depth, more information, we can then set up one of these one-to-one sessions with the mentor. So routes to market. So you might already have a market, you might be selling from your own shop, but then you're thinking, well, we want to grow and expand, so where else can we sell? So we're here to help you identify those gaps. It might be through a distributor or a wholesaler like Lasar Fwyd or Castell Howell or Harlech Foods. It might be through the hospitality trade. food festivals and farmer markets once they start off again, hopefully soon. And then some of these small kind of high street retailers or the bigger chains, or even some of the supermarkets. So we've got all these great contacts, we've got all these great resources on farm shops and delis, you know, people you can get in touch with if you really want to expand, you know, your market. And also online is huge at the moment. We can really help you create an online shop, drive traffic from your social media to your website, and also help kind of create and develop your own website. So lots of great resources there. So branding, we recognise in Wales now that branding is key, really. A lot of consumers, they buy with their eyes, unfortunately, before even tasting the product. So we understand that branding has to be spot on to kind of get people interested, get those consumers interested. So we can help provide that that support and help with branding. And for those growth companies, we can even help put them in touch with a graphic designer and get some actual support on creating your own brand or logo for your products as well. So these are some of the companies that we've kind of helped in the past. And then also market research. Again, this is quite important. You know, finding out, is your product on trend? What can I add to it to make it more accessible, to make it more interesting to other consumers? You know, the big trend recently over the pandemic has been things that boost your immune system, healthy products, but also there's the flip side of the kind of comfort food, you know, the chocolates, the cakes, the gins, the beers, you know, so we can really help access that kind of market research to find out whether your product's kind of on point and moving in the right direction, and maybe what you can do to help, you know, change that a little bit. Also, there's great intelligence on the shops and supermarkets, what they're looking for, consumer research as well. So this is all available to you via Cywain. There's also mentoring for those growth companies, so we can put them in touch with a mentor for that more kind of intense training. These mentors are experts in the field, and that could be things like finance, the operational side, perhaps in your production unit or your factory. It could be creating a new product. It could be to do with kind of social media or your website, processing, marketing, lots of different aspects to really help that that business grow and develop further. And then something else that we've been doing a lot of in the past, but COVID's put the brakes on it a little bit, is the test trading. So we'd be going to the Royal Welsh Show. We have a stand there of 4 units, and we have 4 different producers there every day for the 4 days. This is a fabulous opportunity to get that hands-on practical experience of selling to consumers, you know, handling the money, getting your display looking really nice, you know, the kind of questions you need to ask your consumers, getting them to taste stuff. And there's also a trade lounge there where bigger buyers are invited to come and see what's kind of new in Wales. So this is a great opportunity. We also normally go to the Farm Shop and Deli trade show in Birmingham, and also the Northern Bar and Restaurant show in Manchester. Now these are all on stop at the moment, but we're hoping maybe with a bit of luck, some of them might be happening this year. But we have been accessing a lot of virtual test trading opportunities as well. One just recently was the plant-based summit run by the bread and jam company. So that was a great kind of opportunity, lots of different workshops. They could also pitch to some of these big buyers. And I think there was an investment pitch as well you could make to some of these companies wanting to invest in the next kind of best thing. So we are hoping that test trading will be back on the cards, but we'll have to wait and see. But definitely lots of kind of opportunities. We've been doing pitching to some distributors and wholesalers such as Blas Arfwyd as well. So just because everything's virtual, we're still able to provide lots of kind of exciting opportunities to organisations as well. This is the Farm Shop and Deli in Birmingham, and then lastly, I was trying to consider what kind of co-wine producers we've got working with us that are growers. So I was thinking we've got quite a few people growing fruit. So they've got one company in particular doing fruit flavoured gins. There's the preserves. I think Mostyn Kitchen Garden are going to talk in a bit, so they can explain it a little bit more about their business. Fruit syrups, that's another company we've got. Mushrooms, there's a couple of people growing mushrooms, selling them fresh, dried, in a pate. Then on the vegetables, the chutneys, there's also a crisp company as well. And then with the crops, I know there's one company growing oats, and they've been selling oat milk, which is kind of on trend at the moment and growing. Seed oil, there's a company growing wheat and making bread and flour, and also a company growing barley for distilling as well, which is a huge growing market, the kind of gin market and beers. Then there's the edible microplants for catering, to sell wholesale. Orchards, there's a few cider companies, companies selling apple juice, and then vineyards. There's quite a few vineyards across Wales selling wine, and still new ones opening up as well. There's one in Anglesey about to start next year. And then excitingly, we also have a first company growing tea in Wales, in South Wales. So they've just started trading as well. So there's lots of opportunities, and as you can see, this is kind of a good example of kind of adding value to that primary product that you might be growing. So lots of kind of ideas there. So that's Co-wine Micro. So we're very much geared towards the startup and the micro producers. So Jane, I think, is going to talk a little bit more about the kind of fine food cluster. So maybe I'll pass you over to Jane, and then we can take some questions either in the chat, or if you want to ask us a question, then go for it. So I'll pass you over to Jane, and I'll stop sharing if I can. Here we go. There you go. So over to you, Jane.
Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr iawn. And as Nerys said, thank you, Hannah, and your colleagues for asking us to pop along and have a chat with you tonight. I'll do my best to share my screen. It worked earlier, but you never know, do you? Technology is a wonderful thing.
It's all good, Jane.
Okay, well, it's good your end, it's not good mine. All I can see is my desktop and a couple of tiles down the edge. There we are.
Do you want to try moving it from slide to slide just to check it works?
Yeah. Has it moved?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, yeah. So who and what? I look like I'm cross-eyed, and I've got two screens open now. Let me just load these up for you. Okay, so as Nerys said, the Co-wine Micro Project looks after the startup and the younger, less developed businesses, and sort of once they've sort of jumped out of the nest and the fledglings, we can potentially support thereafter in the fine food cluster. So it's a private sector led initiative. We have a chair from the private sector, sorry, Alison Lee Wilson from Hallenmorn. She's the chair of our fine food cluster. Approximately 120 food businesses pan Wales are now part of the cluster that we engage with on a regular basis of daily, monthly and weekly, and it's funded by the Welsh Government. The whole clustering ethos is a different way of offering business support. So there's a little diagram here. So the fine food cluster is the sort of the main engine room, if you like. And then we do things in different ways. So we work collectively. So producers working together, and often competitors working together to get from A to B, because they can see the benefit of what each other can bring to the party. So as a collective, we undertake a lot of events, and I'll enlighten you a little bit more in a moment, but it builds on the work that Nerys and her team do with the micro clients in the beginning. So the really good thing is that by the time the clients come to the cluster, they've been helped along the way, and they know what's expected of them in a trade show or a consumer show and things like that. So it's really good grounding. We put on a lot of showcases, meet the buyer. And again, I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. Another good factor about the cluster is the sharing of resource. So that could involve sharing equipment, sharing staff, sharing distribution. So your products would go on your van, and then you pick my products up down the road and help me distribute them. It's working together rather than being in a silo on your own. And again, we can bring in specialist knowledge on virtually any topic through our portfolio of business mentors. So we've got a fabulous selection of mentors that probably every topic you'd ever need as a business. So yeah, so I hope you can still see everything. So sharing information and not working in isolation is a really important factor of the cluster. Whoops, where's my mouse? Disappeared. Okay, as Nerys mentioned, our project has access to market data, and this data is critical if you're going to approach, for example, a supermarket buyer to say, this is why my widget should be on your shelf. I can prove it in the data that the category for widgets has gone up 50%, and my product fills that gap for you. So through the cluster, we've got access to Kantar, Mintow, and a whole suite of market intelligence data. Like I mentioned, and again, the Cywain micro clients can have mentoring as well. So it could be mentoring on breaking into the export market, or it could be mentoring, looking at new pieces of equipment to make you more efficient. We do clinics and workshops, the same as Cywain Micro. Typically, they tend to be at a higher level because of the type of company that will be sitting in. So we'd often have company owners, directors, senior sales and marketing people sitting in on our webinars and things like that. I've mentioned before that the cluster is all about group working. We have quite a few projects on the go at the moment. Even in these sort of virtual times, we've managed to keep momentum. We've got a project called Destination Northwest, and then it mirrors, and it's called Destination Southwest. So in a nutshell, that is taking the Welsh products from our area into the northwest of England. So knocking on doors of delicatessens, farm shops, and other specialty retailers to get new outlets for our products. So that's in full swing at the moment. We support that project with going to chefs forum events. So we try and get the eyes and attention of some of the really high profile chefs who are based in the Northwest, offering them samples of our fabulous product and trying to encourage them to use it on their menus and then become loyal supporters of our products. You might have been to a tuck-in in the good old days when we were allowed out in the real physical world. We did a fabulous marketing masterclass at Sawton Hall in Northup, and then we mirrored it down in Llanerch Vineyard as well. It seems a long time since we've actually been out. We bring in really prestigious speakers that are well respected in the marketplace, and we've got an event running on the 14th of April. I can share it with Hannah, and then it's free to attend just in case anybody would like to join in. One of the speakers stuck in my mind because I'm a bit of a chocoholic is a gentleman from Tony's Chocolonely, talking about how their marketing has changed to become more agile during COVID. As Nerys's project, we also support with branding and looking at branding to make sure it's fit for purpose. And especially as we're dealing with more mature companies that have been going longer, sometimes they need to sort of stop and look at their branding and still, you know, is it still fit for purpose? So we can help make sure that everything, the message and the whole brand position is correct. And again, when we're out and about, we like going on study tours. We had a study tour planned to go to the French Alps to look at a cheese making cluster in that area, and they also had honeybees, which fitted in with one of our sister projects. So that's on hold, but it will happen. A couple of logos there, so businesses that you might be familiar with, Cywain, Henlland Bakery, Snowdonia Cheese, Village Bakery, Penderyn, just an example of the type of company that are part of our cluster. So obviously the whole shebang is not on that slide, it just gives you an idea of the size and range of diversity of members we have. So, you know, how do I become a cluster member? Well, we work very closely with Cywain Micro, and this isn't sort of the definitive list. It's a process of talking and learning about your company and seeing, are you ready, and does your company fit? So ideally, we're looking for a company that's looking to grow quite a bit and is employing people. So that's a really important factor. Because of the type of marketplace, as in supermarkets and some of the high-end retailers, we need accreditation. So we're looking at SALSA or BRC, or at least be working towards that kind of accreditation. The retailers really like the Great Taste Award, so I really encourage all our members to try the competitions every year and put some entries forward. So again, that gives you a point of difference against your competitors when you're going to pitch. You know, I've got a Great Taste Award for my widget berry jam. You know, that can make you really stand out from your competitor. Some of our services are chargeable during non-COVID times, so the business must be able to put in their time and some financial resource. But currently, all our services are paid for until the situation in the marketplace improves. Mindset is so important for the cluster because it's not about coming and taking, it's about coming and giving. Giving of time, ideas, knowledge. So the mindset of the client businesses is really important because everybody bounces off one another, and it's a real good team effort, and everyone helps one another. Even direct competitors find the benefit of supporting and helping each other. And I don't think you can put a price on the sharing of experience. So people might say, oh, you know, I'm having terrible trouble with this proving oven. Has anybody got any experience, or, you know, a few tips and hints? And everyone jumps and helps. It takes time to build that trust and really positive environment, but the willing to share is really, really important. And for the majority of our producers in the cluster, they're looking to export, but obviously for some companies, for example, ice cream, it might not be totally practical to export. So it just gives you an idea of the kind of company we're looking to work with in the cluster. So as Neris takes her clients to events, we take our clients to a mixture of trade and consumer show. So top left there, that was the Nantwich International Cheese Awards in 2019 when we were allowed out. And as it happened, it was our first time there, and we won the Best Trade Stand Award. So we were very pleased with that. And we represented 17 Welsh cheeses over that duration. And I think Neris has mentioned Farm Shop and Deli, so we take a suite of producers with us. Bottom picture is a consumer show we did in Tatton Park in Cheshire, just to see what the appetite was, if you like, for Welsh product in the Cheshire Northwest area. And building on that, we then have developed a Destination Northwest project. And then biannually, we put on a massive is the right word, even though it's not a very good word. It's a trade meet the buyer event at the Celtic Manor, and that'll be taking place this year in October over 2 days, and it'll be buyers from all kinds of sectors: food service, hospitality, multiple retailers, independents, you name it, as well as international buyers. So there's like a lovely display of all the products, and then the buyers get a slot, like a speed dating slot, with the individual producers to test and taste the products and learn more about it. So we're always looking for new events, and just before lockdown, I was lucky enough to take the cheese producers to Salon de Fromage in Paris, just at the end of February before we were locked down. So we do try and fly the flag sort of internationally for our fabulous Welsh producers. These white cupboards are amazing. This is how we present our products to the buyers. Nerys mentioned we do a trade lounge at the Royal Welsh Show upstairs, where the buyers are pre-invited to come and have a look at the products in their particular category. So we present the products really clearly and explain with a little card who the producer is, what accreditation it has, shelf life, etc. Those white cupboards are our sort of stamp, if you like. There's a lovely guy there from Henllan Bakery. What he's doing is, that's an example of one of our practical workshops, staging photography shots for your social media. So it's quite a diverse offer that we've got to support our client members. And I mentioned the tuck-in that we've done in Sawton Hall and Llanner, and that's going to be a virtual event on the 14th of April. So I think the next step really is always about talking to the business to find out where they are now, and, you know, does their aspiration fit to join the cluster? As a project Cywain, we've got different work streams of ffrydiau gwaith, as we call them. So you've got the micro, we've got the cluster. I mentored a business also look after the honey cluster and the seafood cluster. So those clusters intertwine with some members as well. And there are clusters outside of mentored business that we do work closely with, like the drinks cluster, for example. So I think the important takeaway is, doesn't matter whether it's Nerys's team or the fine food cluster team, we're there to help, and we won't sort of leave you in limbo. We'll make sure you're put where you need to be able to move on to the next step. And as Nerys said, you know, there's a whole host of stakeholders like the food technology centres, Business Wales, Food Skill Wales, to one another regularly, so we don't miss anything. So, you know, the client business does get the best service. It's all about communication, and new things come online all the time, and it's just listening and looking out for the client businesses. And there we are. Diolch yn fawr.
That's fantastic. Thanks very much both. They're brilliant presentations. As you can see, there are endless options of support from Cywain, and there's such a range of what they can support from like product development to branding, you know, to routes to market. And one thing that we at Tyfu Cymru obviously encourage is business growth. And you yourselves, especially the growers, may be thinking, you know, does this necessarily apply to me? But business growth and upscaling doesn't necessarily just mean selling more veg to more shops. You know, there's a capacity that you may hit, like this is as much as I can do in this area. There's also upscaling in a way of diversifying and looking at what you grow and what you produce, and actually can you, you know, is there a product that you can make from what you're growing, which is actually going to benefit your business more, to bring in more profit. And we're going to hear from Debbie in a minute, who's going to talk a little bit about that. So yeah, it's just getting you thinking a bit more about what you currently do, and is there a way of diversifying to actually make your business stronger, to go down some of these routes and like the support options that are available from Cywain. And we heard from Nerys there about some of the horticulture producers that are working with them, that are, you know, creating products, whether it's something like mushrooms or microgreens, or whether it's an added value product as well. So definitely loads of options there. Are there any questions for Jane and Nerys before we move on? you can just unmute yourselves and ask. If you could switch your video on, that would be fab. And if not, we'll move on. But any questions?
If anybody has a burning question, I'm sure they can pass it on to you, Hannah, and you can get in touch with us, or you can maybe share Jane and I's contact details as well. If they want to know more, they're welcome to get in touch with us directly. But as Jane says, you know, we feel like there's something for everybody, whether you're just a small cottage industry or you're a business that really wants to grow. There's a place for everybody, and we're here to help. So you know, by all means, get in touch if you want to know more.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Nerys. Yes, you can get in touch with us at Tyfu Cymru. We can direct you to Cywain, but I will also send an email out after with Jane and Nerys's details on, so you can get in touch with them directly. So if we can hand over to Debbie, I think you've got a presentation. I'm going to have a chat about your business and the support that you've received.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Hi, Noswaith Arpawb. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you in a different capacity actually this evening as Mostyn Kitchen Garden. I'm just going to try and share my screen. I'm hoping it won't be death by PowerPoint. I've just put a load of pictures up basically, so it should be relatively easy to follow. So we've been asked to talk about, or I've been asked to talk about, our experience of our interactions with Cywain and what support we've received as Mostyn Kitchen Garden. I'll do you a whistle-stop tour of how we, where we started and where we're up to now, because we're at the point of launching new products actually with a shiny new brand. So it's quite a journey really. So this is, I'm sorry it's not terribly clear, but this is a picture of the garden. This is Mostyn Kitchen Garden. Phil arrived here pretty much 10 years ago to the week actually, and started here on an intermediate labour market project with a charity. We're a walled garden in the grounds of Mostyn Hall in Flintshire in North Wales, and the garden was leased to the charity. It's a 2.5 acre garden, so it's pretty big. That's 2.5 acres within the walls, and then you can see beyond the wall in front of you. There's some glass houses, and behind the camera there's also an ancient orchard as well. So we're a relatively big space actually, although we're a micro business. So Phil got here 10 years ago, ran the intermediate labour market project for about 3 years, 4 years maybe, and then the project funding ended, at which point the estate, Mostyn Estate, were happy to keep Phil on, but as Mostyn Estates, and at which point he then became an employee of Mostyn Estates, and the agreement was that he does 2 days a week for them, which is with the volunteers who come into the garden and get benefits from being here, and the rest of the time we were to develop our own business, which is what became Mostyn Kitchen Garden. So we were running a box scheme. We were just doing a primary product, and as the garden matured, we started getting gluts of product that we couldn't sell, I guess. It was good enough to eat, but it wasn't good enough to put in the box scheme boxes. So I started just a cottage industry, just adding value, making jams and chutneys and things, which I was just actually at that point giving away. Very nicely of me to friends and family. But then as soon as that became not unmanageable, but it became bigger than just a couple of jars of jam, we made a decision that we were going to look at adding value to the majority of what we do. If anyone wants to ask me any questions, please do, just stop me. So at which point we contacted Cywain. In the beginning, it was because we wanted to know and we wanted support with how to set up our company actually, because we had that dual thing of Phil being employed but also having a business on site. We needed to look at what we wanted to do in terms of, did we want to go down the charitable route? Did we want to set up a KIC? Did we want to set up a community supported agriculture? Did we want to set up a charitable business? You know, what did we want to go down the route? And actually, as it happens, we decided to go down the sole trader route. It was just easier. So we set up as a sole trader, but we have social enterprise aims. So that feeds into the voluntary kind of volunteering side of what we do as well. So once we decided on our company setup, we were then introduced to, because I had a few things that I was making. So I was making kind of about 8 products at that point. We were introduced to Llangefni Food Tech Centre, who I know that Nerys referred to earlier. And I have to say they were incredibly helpful, very, very nice people, and really, really helpful. And they helped us look at what was in the market already, along with Cywain as well, what was out there already, because they obviously wouldn't want to repeat things that were already being done. And we were in the lucky position of probably being one of the only businesses doing preserves that were growing everything ourselves. Some are foraging, some have allotments, some have small areas, but our main USP, if you like, was that we grow everything ourselves, and we still do, other than the odd onion here and there, but pretty much we grow everything ourselves. So what we did with Llangefni was we were walked through the HACCP process. All our paperwork was put in place, boring but necessary. It was all the risk stuff was done. So I don't know, if you break a jar, what happens to that jar? Where do you record that? They also sourced jars for us and costed it for us. And they also looked at our range, and they did all the product testing as well. And that was all supported financially through funding through Cywain. So it meant that we could get 8 products tested as part of that initial main range that we were going to put out there. And then once we decided on our products, and once we had those tested, so we'd got our shelf life, we'd got our all the nasties, if there was any nasties in there, you know, that kind of thing, sugar contents of jams, we then were able to go on to branding. And the branding is the kind of bit that really makes you start to think about, my goodness, we really are becoming a business now. And the graphic designer the designer that we met with at that point was incredibly helpful. We had a choice, and we were able to choose. We wanted to go down the quite modern route. I'm going to take you back actually. So if you look at the layout of the garden, we've got 8 beds and a dipping pool. We wanted to go quite modern, so this is the brand that we went for. The colours were chosen from the garden, and obviously the layout is the garden itself. So we were really pleased with that. It took some time, even though it looks really simple. It took some time, and that was our initial main range there, bottom left, of our jams and chutneys. And then we moved on, and we had like a limited edition range and things like that. And we also, I'll take you back actually. We then kind of started on the events and things that Cywain put on that Nerys and Jane have talked about actually. So Meet the Buyer, we went on a Meet the Buyer. I went on a couple actually, and did some market testing for the first couple of years, because we don't have a shop. Phil would say we, but I say me. I attended a lot of speciality market stalls, so I did food festivals. I didn't do farmers markets because it wasn't really the route we wanted to go down, but I did things like Mould Food and Drink Festival. We did the Winter Fair because we were able to go part of Cywain there, the Mentor Business Store, the Welsh Food and Drink. I did Llandudno Christmas Fair, so quite kind of local, and we decided to kind of keep local. And at some of those events we met our stockists, which was great. So we also started to realise that we are the brand. It was embarrassing but true. So you know, our story is we're husband and wife, that we're growing everything ourselves, we're making it on site. And then we started with a strap line, which was grown, picked and preserved by us, which we keep to this day. That's still our strap line. And we still have this brand on our jams and chutneys, but we now have a range of about 20, I think. So it's grown somewhat. We have had more support from Cywain recently, because previously we had decided to keep our product quite local, because we grow it all ourselves. We knew that it was limited as to how much we can provide, basically, or we can produce. So we've never gone with a distributor, but we're at the point where we've developed an apple cider vinegar over the last couple of years. Actually, it's taken that long, and we've got this new brand, which is Handley's, which means that we can go a bit further afield with it, really, because we can produce more of this product, and it's still ours, still grown by us, but obviously it's using apples, so there's a bit more plentiful. We've had help with website development, even though we still haven't quite got there with the new one, but we will. We've had help with finance and costings of our products, so looking at kind of trade, you know, direct sales, retail costs, which is really helpful, because you don't want to undervalue your product, but you don't want to price yourself out of the market either. We've been part of the Food and Drink Wales campaigns as well, particularly the St David's one recently. This is all over, I suppose, the last 5 years or so. And we've kept at micro level, but I guess this product and another one that we're developing may well take us a little bit bigger than that, actually. And we'll be looking at distributors, hopefully. I'm just trying to think what else we've had. Some of the workshops we've attended, the Cywain workshops, have been fantastic, really helpful. So the sales and displays stuff, those practical things were incredibly helpful. The selling one particularly, because how, you know, we might be growers and producers, but how do you sell? How do you sell to customers directly or at trade? So that's been quite an interesting journey, really. I think for us, we've always remained authentic. Again, we are the brand. And I think we've kept good relationships with all of our stock. I think we've got about 15, 20 stockists, and we don't do market stalls or things anymore because we just don't have the time, really, except for the odd one. But we just have stockists, and actually we've been very lucky during lockdown, because all of our stockists pretty much have kept running during the COVID pandemic, and their businesses have grown because they've changed what they do to fit their customers. So they've incorporated deliveries or that kind of thing. So our sales have gone up 37% this year, which has just been phenomenal for us, because we thought that we would probably be hit harder than that, but we've done really well. So yeah, so you know, we're in the lucky position that we're able to, we've had the opportunity to get additional support from Cywain, which has been invaluable, actually, and business development of stuff as well. So it means that we've been able to further what we do. So yes, we certainly couldn't have done what we do without that Cywain input. So I would say, if you're looking to add value to your product, or you're looking to diversify, then get in touch, because for me, I don't think we would have even taken that first step, actually. So yeah, it's been a journey. But if anyone wants to contact us or wanted to come and look around the garden and pick our brains, you're very welcome. There's my details. And if you've got any questions, just ask away. Okay.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Debbie. Has anyone got any questions before we round off? I will share, if Debbie's all right with it, I will share her details as well with everybody who's attended this evening. So if you do have any questions, you can get in touch with her directly. But I think it's extremely useful, having heard from Cywain and then hearing from Debbie the support that she's received, especially as a grower, and the added value products that she's created. So I'm just having a look in the chat. There we go. Sam's put some information there about Debbie. So I had a question actually for you, Debbie, just quickly before we go, about managing supply and demand, because you are on the micro level, so to speak, and it started off with, you know, produce. You had like a glut of something and made it into a product. How do you manage like the demand? You say now you've got like 20 stockists. Is that how do you manage that, or do you have to just have like small batches and then have good relationships with stockists and say this is all we've got at the moment? Like how do you manage that?
It's a bit of both. It's a great question actually, and it's a bit of both. We do grow a fair bit actually now, and we freeze. So as soon as we harvest, we freeze, and that takes us through the year with our produce. So it's still as fresh as the day it was, you know, came off the bush. It's just that we freeze. And we weren't sure how it was going to go down in the beginning actually, but what we say when we first take on a stockist is come and see us, come and see that it really is our produce and that we grow it. Come and see the garden, come and see where those raspberries come from, where those tomatoes are grown, come and see the glass houses. And then we manage expectations by saying there may be times of the year when we're out of stock of certain products, but it's usually only for a couple of weeks while the new season fruit and veg is coming through. And for us, that's been positive actually. Every stockist that we've worked with, that's been positive, because they can see the seasonality or see the freshness and see that it's ours. So for us, that's been a positive message, and it sits in with our strapline as well. They're grown, picked and preserved by us.
Brilliant. That's really good, because I think it is a bit scary thinking about, you know, if you are adding value, that, you know, you're diversifying in a small way because, you know, either to make a bit more money or because you have a glut of something, and that, you know, it seems quite, you know, scary to think how do you manage that, but that's brilliant. It's again about building that relationship with suppliers from the beginning
and maintaining it as well. The other thing we do now as well is we've changed our growing. So we grow, previously we would grow and then make things out of what we grow, whereas now we grow for our products, if that makes sense. So we don't grow all the brassicas anymore, we don't grow all the different kinds of, you know, exotics and things. We grow what we know we're going to need. So a lot of crop planning as well.
Brilliant, fantastic.
Can I just say as well, Debbie, your labels look fantastic for the apple cider vinegar, and I think it's just a great illustration how, you know, getting your branding on point, and as you said quite rightly, you are the brand as well. So, you know, to think about that carefully, but they look fantastic. So I'm sure they'll do really, really well.
Thanks, Neris, thank you. Again, I suppose it's about thinking about the market, isn't it? And about what people want. And I was at shows and things and thinking nobody's doing vinegars, nobody's actually growing it and doing their own, or not nobody, but very few in Wales. So it's about that gap in the market as well, actually. And as soon as we spoke to the food tech, they were like, yeah, we'll support you with that, because there isn't many people doing it. And then finding another designer, a different one to the one we used previously, only because it's a different product and it's a slightly different kind of, it's a slightly more familial brand, I think, with the name Handley's on it. It also means that we can take it other places. So it doesn't have to be at Mostyn Kitchen Garden. It could be, I don't know, it could be at Brecon, it could, you know, so it means that we can take that brand and move it, but retain it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. It looks great. And as soon, like the pictures of, as you say, the branding's fantastic. And straight away I was like, I would buy that. It really is that good. It looks really professional, but that's what, you know, that's what it's all about. And, you know, we've talked, it's all about everybody that we deal with at Tyfu. All of you lot are Welsh, and it's about embracing that as a brand and putting it out there. You know, we think just that's where we're based, that's what we're producing, but actually saying that something is Welsh adds quality to a product. And I think it's just getting in the mindset of promoting that as, you know, as added value on what you're producing. So no, brilliant.
I was just thinking there's other small things as well, you know, when you're upscaling, which obviously Mentor and Cywain would help you with, but small things like we previously have always used a printer in Wales. Actually in North Wales we've tried to support local to print our labels, but we've now recently bought ourselves a printer and we can print our own, which means that we can be much more flexible and malleable. So it's small things like that. It's only taken us 6 years. But, you know,
late than never. Yeah.
There's little things like that that actually will give you the freedom to be able to kind of develop your brand a bit further, really. It's just how far you want to take it, isn't it? If you want to go to, you know, the fine food clusters with Jane and really grow, then there's opportunity. If you want to stay as a micro business like us and maybe grow very slowly because we work other jobs, then, you know, the opportunities there, you can still get the support.
That's great. That's brilliant advice. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. As I say, I will send an email out, it'll be tomorrow morning now, with everybody's contact details for the speakers. So if anyone does have any questions that they haven't come to them tonight, that they can get in touch directly with everyone, and you can come to us at Tyfu and we can put you in touch with Cywain and other people as well if it's a bit further down the line, if it's not something you're thinking of right now. But hopefully you can leave tonight with you know, lots to think about where your business could potentially go to, even if it isn't at the moment. So thank you very much to the speakers, and hopefully we'll see you at the 4th session. I'll send details out on that as well, and check out the Tyfu website for all the other support that's available. Thanks very much, everybody.